All right, all right. Welcome to another episode of the Metaverse Nomads. We've got a bit of a skeleton crew here working with us during the holiday season. We do have a special guest for this show that we anticipate will be joining us at some point, but we got a few things to cover, and those that you see here will be the ones getting started. With us today, we've got Ray Bonafide and Fancy Hat. How you guys doing?
Doing great. Love that song.
Yeah, the intro music. Yeah. Shout out to Jesse who does the intro and outro music. It's always amazing.
All right. It's been a busy, long week, and next week might be the same, but we're here, so let's make the best of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm still traveling. I'm here in California visiting family before I head over to Austin and then back to Amsterdam. Woke up with a little bit of a scratchy throat, so I got my tea here. Hope I make it through the whole show. But we got some things to talk about for sure. I don't know where we want to start here, but I think for a lot of folks following us, the big news is Star Atlas. I think it's a big deal when a game gets from that stage of preparation and early followers and people paying attention to it to where all of a sudden they flip that switch and now it actually becomes play to earn, even if it is in a limited format. So we got some things to talk about there for sure. But where do you guys want to begin? What do you got, Fancy Hat?
Yeah, so a lot of big names coming into Solana this week. Michael Jordan was one of them. And he's obviously going to bring a lot of advertisements with him, and his product, Air, it raised 10 million in seed round funding, which is very impressive.
Yeah, this just goes back to what I was saying before. I mean, Gary Vee was the first person I heard say it, that NFTs are actually community. We all know as gamers that NFT gaming is about community as well. But these projects like Michael Jordan, if you read up on this, they're talking about engaging fans with celebrities basically in this NFT community. So I think you're going to keep seeing this. Playboy did something similar. A lot of projects starting to do something similar. Nike, and I think we're going to talk about Pepsi here in a second.
Well, I think it's also a matter of, every boardroom around the world is like, look, guys, this NFT thing, this blockchain thing, it's not going away. How do we get our piece?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So as you said, let's move on to Pepsi. And last week we covered it, and they estimated that it was so it's a free drop, but you would have to pay gas fees, and they would estimate like 0.1 to mint it. So what do you guys think that is now? Let's have a few guesses. No guesses, okay. 0.685.
So,
So if you manage to get one of them, when I looked at this, I kind of laughed at the supply, but just their name brand alone brought in the people.
I mean, here's one of those things though. I mean, if you look at that supply, it's way smaller than normal, and this is the very first Pepsi NFT drop. I mean,
yeah, I think it's
even if it doesn't do well,
and I'd be curious to know how many of these new owners are someone that this is their very first NFT, and they got the motivation to figure out how to do it, how to set up a wallet, how to go and make all this happen simply because it was Pepsi.
Yeah, and similarly,
Go ahead.
I was going to say similarly, we might not have the slide, but Adidas dropped their NFT just the other day, or was it yesterday? Yeah. Okay. The days are blending together. And what was ironic about that was on the supply side of people being able to mint, there was a genius. There was an Albert Einstein guy out there who just did subcontracts. And so it wasn't like he hacked anything or he was able to buy more than the limited of 2 to mint per wallet, but with his coding skills, and just kudos to him for just being able to work around whatever restraints were put in place. And he was able to mint like over 300 of them, 25 ETH fees, and then 60 for all the NFTs that he minted. And he made out like a bandit. I think that was like over 70,000 or 700,000. Forget the digit, but either way, it's a large sum of money that he was able to profit off of after the fact when they actually hit the market to be purchasable. So yeah, I don't know if anyone got in. I haven't checked up on the price, or I'm not even aware of the supply because like I said, I was busy this week, but that stood out to me when I was going over some general news.
That's one of those things that, anybody who's new to this space at all, you always got to remember. I mean, these NFT drops almost never go smooth. They always, like, the technology is so new that nobody really has a handle on the proper way to do it, where there's not going to be any cheating or
Right.
you know
Yeah,
things
and
that are going to piss people off.
yeah. So what happened was the Mutant Ape Yacht Club. They were supposed to be whitelisted, but then they weren't at the end of it, and maybe they. But then there was a breaking point, and the minting came to a halt, so they can add the Mutant Ape Yacht Club owners to be able to mint. So there was like you said, little hiccups here and there, but for the
Yeah.
first drop, they made over $22 million off of their initial not punk, but ape purchase, which was only
Mhm.
what $300,000 at the time when Adidas first purchased the ape, and then they made
Yeah.
22 million off of doing all what they did. So
I think that was a smart move on their part to actually get into the NFT space, make some noise by buying something that's recognized, get some
Yeah.
headlines from that, and then jump in themselves.
mhm.
Plus,
So
you're getting
what?
support
So
from one of the
did I
most
hear you
OG
correct?
communities in NFTs.
Yeah. So you said that they actually? I didn't see their drop. They actually have a drop of something of their own.
Yeah,
Adidas.
it's like a little action figure that's rotating. It's animated, and it might look like an action figure in a case that you would buy of like a Star Wars or Transformer, like the old school action figures, but just more digitized and animated. Um, but like I said, I wasn't able to go too deep. I just went into the how successful or what happened with the mint, so I couldn't really tell you like what they're going to be used for if there's a use case. And down the line, I know that you're going to be able to get sweaters. There's going to be a tire that's given out to everyone, whether it's a shirt, a hoodie, and then as the Bored Ape Yacht Club community also did the same, and those shirts and sweaters and hats and beanies, they're for 3x on the secondary market from what they initially were mintable or I guess purchasable at, or just gifted. If it was a
Yeah.
gift for owning the NFT, because I'm not in the Bored Ape community, I haven't followed up with them at all. But if it was a gift, then you just made 3x if it's worth $300 from zero of having it just for free. So
Right.
it's going to be similar with Adidas. You're going to get some ongoing utility and perks of just having and holding what
Yeah.
what NFT.
And companies are watching right now how all of these things are turning out. And is another example of how a company is going to like try and step into blockchain. Many of you know, like Stanley has passed away, or unfortunately, if you haven't heard, like ages ago. But if you are in the NFT blockchain space, you've been hearing his name, and people are going to make this mint, and I think it's a theme they're going to do in general of like dead celebrities. But yeah, what do you guys think?
I think
I
it's
thought,
interesting all the different companies that are going to be coming to the space, and I don't think that because they're big names, they're not going to be able to get away with these epically failed mints, and so I think that is going to force a standard to be developed pretty quick. Whether that is some form of a whitelisting that works, whether that's a lottery system, whatever that is, and then also they're gonna there's it's gonna push uh, new new models because right now we know that some of the biggest things, if you're a brand new person and you see this and you're like, hey, I'd like to get an NFT, you're going to run into all kinds of issues from people that in the know show up with scripts and grab as many as they can, or right around that same time a bunch of scammers are going to be pushing out links. Instead of shockreverse.io, it'll be shockreverse.x or something else. And so yeah, this is because there's big names and brands coming into this space, it's going to push towards some standards to make the process smoother.
yeah, and I think it's a smart move as far as profit making is concerned, because they're going after the demographics of Indians, and that's a large demographic of people who are still not maybe completely onboarded onto crypto. So there's a huge opportunity there to just garner support and just add people into the ecosystem. Although depending on how much money is going to be coming in, but there was some thread that was being talked about where it's like you're going to jump into the space and just you're attracting and hitting more than one angle of just like the type of people you're trying to get interested. Because why that character in particular? It was just like speculation and the way they went about it, just jumping in and then using Stanley's account when he's not alive for this purpose of NFTs.
Yeah,
And
that
if it
was
was
mainly the
if
backlash.
yeah, there was some backlash about using his official profile when so there was a whole bunch of semi backlash, but then also support because and then what better way is there to get involved when you're not originally a person who was here from the beginning and growing your project like a Star Atlas or an Axie Infinity who didn't come from the outside legacy system. So like, what is the best way, right? Adidas came in, there was some flack against them, some shade was thrown, Marvel, the Matrix, Spider-Man. It's just like, it's kind of cringe, but over the course of a year, when your favorite company, like even Gala Games will cover, we have AMC's The Walking Dead, right? So if you love Walking Dead, you're not going to be against, maybe, unless you're a real native of the Web3 crypto, NFT gaming space. And then even beyond that, just with monetary policies in different countries and how it's all based on debt. So, everyone's on a different level of understanding, and whether you're for it or against it, it's happening. So just like the dot-com bubble, excuse me. Some people were against the dot-com bubble, even credit cards. We all know people were at different stages in time where things were happening, and you either opted in or opted out, and there's benefit to both. So we'll see how it goes.
And I'm also curious to see how much of the holders or people that participate in these mints are really just the flippers, because this creates a crazy opportunity for flippers market, because they know that anything with a big brand name is eventually going to find some people that want it. So yeah, I'm curious to see what that does. In other words, do we see big pumps and then dumps on the market the way that we've seen with crypto and other aspects of blockchain?
I think it's very astute that you keep mentioning that, Jesse, because from what I've seen with various different projects that I've been into, like Playboy Rabbitars or Tom Bilyeu with the impact theory, really what you usually see happening is you see crypto people who also are fans of that project, and they are the early adopters. And like with Tom Bilyeu, I mean, he has a few million followers across different platforms. Those people didn't come into his impact theory. It was people like me who follow both crypto and his platform. And I think that's the same with the Playboy Rabbitars. I think you're going to see the same with Nike and Adidas, like who bought all that Pepsi stuff. It was probably crypto guys, right?
Yeah,
more or less. Oh yeah, and I would like to like, I hear us talking about a lot of surface level projects of individuals or companies that are coming in from the outside of what is already and has been growing in NFT gaming or in DeFi in general. So there's projects that's one side of the spectrum, and then the other side is like the hardcore degen of projects you might not even know about, or you might heard of but you think are too risky, like a DeFi Kingdoms, right? Like we mentioned 2 weeks ago, or there's so many, or even the Ohm forks, right? The risky time into Wonderland, and it's not necessarily a game or an NFT game, but there's a lot going on the other side of the spectrum that might just not appeal to many people who are first or now being introduced to crypto in general. So to just dive into, there's a lot of YouTube and information on YouTube for those particular projects. But as far as wanting to help onboard people, we'd have to talk about the Marvels, the Matrixes, the Adidas, and then, or the Playboys. And then that'll pique people's interest more than, there's this new game. You could earn like 10,000 APY and you could triple your money in a month. And yeah, so it's good to talk about.
I'd be curious to know, like, also, are these companies coming out the gate with some form of utility, or am I just getting a collectible? And if they are going to get creative with utility, what will that utility be? What will I get if I get a particular Avenger?
I think that's gonna be the determination of what stands the test of time and what really gets the high valuations later on. Is the companies that are smart about understanding how to build community, how to add utility to these NFTs. Those are going to be the NFT projects that are actually going to really blow your head off. Good question from Punjab from the chat. Is the first one the only one that matters for a company? After that, when does it become Beanie Babies? And I think you're absolutely right with that. Like the first Pepsi NFT drop that happened in 2021 during the NFT boom. Yeah, that's probably gonna hold some value over time. In a few years, you might see that being worth something. But is Pepsi going to continually support that project and really make it into something more than just what is it, a JPEG collectible? I mean, that remains to be seen.
Yeah, and just like again, we'll talk about Gala Games about in after Star Atlas, but I can't help but use the example of Coin Bureau's video that Bonafide shared in our Discord, which you all should join. By the way, there's great information and conversations happening there. GoRome.io. You could find that. You could find us there, and so even Coin Bureau. I'm sure we all know of him. He has plenty of subscribers. Always talks about different projects and goes pretty in depth about what they're all about. And he had similar concerns that we've always voiced here about not having a in-depth white paper or tokenomics, and it was a little rough around the edges to find out the facts of what that's about. But when it comes to these companies making NFTs, to your point, Bonafide, they're gonna initially just start with an NFT that you hold, and then you might get something. Or you just hold for to appreciate in value. But at this point in time, if you go deeper down the rabbit hole of NFT gaming, there's so many added utilities or added utility to the NFTs that are out there already. So you're getting the short end of the stick if you're coming in thinking that, wow, Adidas just made an NFT and I have it. Woohoo! Like my friend said, I got that Spider-Man NFT. I'm just like, okay. Like it's not, it doesn't really mean anything, but he's like, but bro, I could sell it for like double now. And I'm like, that's great. But there's that level of education that needs to take place before you realize you're being shafted. You're being taken advantage of. And
that's the utility of gaming, right? Because it's like, you just bought what was that? The Pepsi NFT is at 0.6 right now.
That's
so
a lot of money.
You just bought a Pepsi NFT for a couple thousand. If you'd took that couple thousand and bought a Star Atlas spaceship, you'd be making X number of dollars per day right now, right?
Right.
And you have the flip value later. But we'll go into Star Atlas and what you're doing later. But it's just it's an interesting point you just made. And then going back to Coin Bureau, shout out to Coin Bureau. I've been a big fan of his forever. And once again, he pretty much nailed it. I mean, he drives that line of giving you all the good information, but also hitting you with the negatives without being negative or overly positive during his video. And I like that about him. He was very fair with Gala, I felt like. Also, I just shared that this morning. I just found out Crypto Wendy O changed her Twitter name to Wendy O Gala Maxi, I think it was. And
yeah, that's right.
Let me see if I can find that.
Wow.
So she changed her name to Wendy O Gala Maxi, and she's shouting out Jesse Hines and Gala Games on her Twitter feed now. And she's a big influencer. I mean, I think she crossed a big milestone not too long ago. She got a blue check and all that on Twitter. So they have a lot of light shining on them right now. And hopefully, as a node owner, I hope they do the right thing with this and keep it going in a positive way.
But the thing about that now, though, is we can't tell who are those that are becoming champions for their projects and who's getting paid, because we know that Gala is now paying people.
Yes, absolutely.
And honestly, none of these companies getting in now that are attracting the surface level crypto enthusiasts or the people who aren't even involved at all and beginning to get in, they don't have to appeal and do anything for the people who have already been here. They don't, although the money is there. Some of it will transfer over because no one wants to miss out on an opportunity that could also bring themselves more money, which we're talking about flippers here, but also people who just buy and hold, which will still work out, if you get in early enough with particularly any project, if it's not a rug pull, just because there's going to be a flood of money and people coming into the space. So a Gala Games or an Adidas, they don't really have to care about the amount of people who were involved since 2017 when the NFT, revolution happened or began.
Great comment. Fancy pulling that up. R from the comments. Flippers will dominate short term for drops, but money always moves from the impatient to the patient supporters over a longer time frame. That is 100% correct for the projects that will last, right? So, we all know some of these projects will die and some of them will continue forward if the developers and the organizations behind the NFT project continue to support the NFT, then you will see great gains over a long term. But if they do something, I guess the word would be foolish, and they destroy the community, which is also possible, then you'll see a negative. So that also is possible.
Yeah, that was a great comment. Pretty much agreed with what Ray was saying at the time.
Yeah.
So I think we're ready for Star Atlas, are we?
Let's dig in.
Yeah.
Let go.
Okay. So this week's score officially launched, and for overall, if you didn't try and do it live, it was a pretty good experience. There was a lot of waiting involved, but really, that's one of the better blockchain launches I've seen in a while. What do you
I
guys
think
think?
we should probably back up for just a moment for those that like, hey, Score, what is this, a new game? I think most of the people watching are familiar with Star Atlas, but just a real quick brief. Star Atlas is a game of space exploration. It's going to eventually be a very large open world space game that's going to be built on Unreal Engine 5. But for now, it's basically in the early stages where they just released a mini game, and that mini game is called Score. And that's essentially an opportunity for people that have purchased in-game assets to be able to stake those assets and begin earning. So for me, at least, and I'm sure for the rest of you guys, this is a big milestone from that point where you initially follow a project early on. I mean, it's been this year. I think a lot of us got involved in late spring or just shortly thereafter. And so we've been in a holding pattern, waiting and waiting and waiting. So this is a major development for anyone that follows Star Atlas as a project, where now officially, as of 3 days ago, we are earning on our purchases of ships.
Yeah, we have utility.
Yes.
I don't know if you have any slides with some of the things we're about to share here, but I'd be curious to know some of your initial thoughts on what your experience has been through the staking process.
So you want to go, Ray? You can go ahead.
Yeah. I was just going to mention that I saw a lot of people having issues with the certain buttons, whether it was to what I did initially was I what do you call it? I sent out one of my ships before I even claimed my resources, and luckily I didn't have that hiccup where you weren't able to to take out your enlisted ship, and then you weren't even able to claim your resources. So it was like you were in purgatory, if you want to call it, of like not being able to take your ship back out, not having resources from enlisting it, and then not having your resources and not even being able to get them to put them. So luckily, once I claimed my resources, because I was able to, even with my ship not having anything in supply to earn Atlas, then the snowball started going, and Atlas was coming in because I was able to claim my resources. But I didn't have any issues, thankfully, compared to others that I've read, and it was a pretty smooth launch, compared to many other NFT projects that I was a part of.
So true to form for me, I was busy working on some other things while the launch was happening, so I wasn't there waiting. By the time I got in early, 3 a.m. PST time after the launch had already happened, it was smooth. I got in, I figured it out. Obviously there's a learning curve with anything that's brand new. So I sat there and figured it out. I got my airdrop, launched my ships, figured out how to do the little fleets, like if you have multiple of a certain ship or whatever, and everything's smooth. Started earning right away. Calculated what that dollar USD value would be, and I was really happy with the whole thing. So Star Atlas, in my opinion, is a win. I mean, basically what we're doing right now is we're testing out the economics for the game that's future coming, right? So they're figuring out, okay, how much food, how much gas, how much ammunition, how much should things cost, and how are people going to be able to earn around that. And we're basically earning based off of us all helping to test the system out. So I think everything's going pretty good. As long as they continue to deliver, I'm gonna be a big bull. I'm gonna be continually be investing in Star Atlas from here on out. So we'll see.
Yeah. So one of the main complaints was that people were unaware that the first time you engage a contract on Solana, it costs 0.02. I think I got that right. So Yeah, and there are like multiple contacts to reach out to, so that adds up a bit. If you have like one $20 ship and you end up spending like 0.1, no 0. I'm not sure. But yeah, like it was a bit confusing, but it is a lot cheaper after that first time.
Right.
So
So
when
the
you're
disappointment was probably around the fact that they thought that this might be an ongoing expense. Is that kind of what the sentiment was?
Yeah, they thought gas would be a lot more expensive than it was, so they were like adding that to how they were calculating their own ROI, and it was return on interest. Sorry, and it was making it look a bit worse than it was, even though it has been a lot better, ideally, than most of us were expecting.
Yeah, I feel like they underpromised and over-delivered, which is what you would expect from a proper dev team, right? So
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think that we were using kind of a baseline which was loose because we really, I mean, no one had any idea, but the baseline was
right.
on the fact that the CEO had mentioned on past shows that essentially we may see something close to, or his expectations for a good return for our investment would be about a year's time, and so we used the 8% model on that. But based on some of the spreadsheets that I've seen that people are putting together loosely to get started, it seems closer to 10%, and that's even after operating expenses. Are you guys? Have you seen some of the docs that support that yet?
From what everybody's been sharing with me, I haven't crunched numbers on this at all, but from what everybody's been sharing, you're being people are confirming what you're saying. People are concurring. So everybody's basically saying that in the beginning it was basically I was seeing a range of 10 to 20%, but then that's not counting the expenses. And so I think with the expenses, it brings it to the number you're talking about.
Yeah, it's definitely over what we all anticipated it was going to be.
Right.
So,
Well, we were told 8, so we're definitely good. You give us an extra couple percentiles, nobody can complain.
and there's a whole bunch of
Good.
calculators out there that either specific guilds have created, even some great community members in our own have supplied for others to use. Simple calculators, some are more complex and detailed, but for the most part, it's a simple addition subtraction, and you just plug them in, and for the most part, the larger ships is what gives you a greater return with the less amount of work needing to be put in.
And I think that's reasonable.
Yep.
If you drop $100,000 on a ship, I think it's reasonable. You should have an easy time of earning with that, right? Great comment from the shopping channel. Does this mini game feel a bit like staking with extra steps? Yes, I feel like you are staking your NFTs and earning with that. And that's basically the end of it. Like I said, I mean, that bit I just said about them testing out game economics, who knows? But I think that's kind of what they're doing on the back end. But yeah, it's just basically you're staking an NFT.
Yeah,
And,
I said
but it's
this
actually
earlier.
more than just extra steps. Sorry, go ahead, Fancy.
I said this earlier. They're trying for play to earn, and they have half of that right now. We're earning, and a lot of us are happy.
Yep.
So to clarify, it's more than just extra steps, it's ongoing maintenance. So basically it is like a staking contract where you put in your ships and then you'll start seeing some return from that. But also depending upon the size of the ship that you have, will also determine how often maintenance is required. If you have one of the entry-level ships, you can expect to be in there on a daily basis almost, doing some form of ship repair, or refeeding, refueling, adding ammo. So I've noticed that big difference between some of the larger ships. In larger ship in my fleet could be 10, 15 days or more. And so some of the bigger ships that even come, you pretty much can have your ship out on a mission and really not have to do anything with it for a while. As where if you've got a smaller ship, you can expect it every other day or so.
Yeah, I have a little fleet of the jets, Opal jets, and those things I can already see are going to be a problem because like I just refueled them everything last night, and already today I'm looking at like, do I have to deal with these things every day, or is it going to be like every 2 days? Like, and my other ships are like no problem, like they could probably run for a week. I don't know. I wanted to cover this right quick. Jordy from the chat It's okay unless the $20 ships where the ROI goes to 20 months. If you take SOL fees into account, Fancy just covered this. That SOL fee is a one-time fee, and then after that, you're just it's the regular ROI with the expenses of refueling and feeding your crew and etc. So,
You'll still have fees. They'll just be much, much smaller than that initial signing fee.
right, exactly. So take that into account, Jordy. It's actually a decent ROI.
Yeah, and I'd like to introduce Bodhi, the man who needs no introduction.
Bodhi,
Thanks,
what's
everybody.
happening, man?
How's it going?
Good,
Doing
good.
great. Good to see you.
I drove up to the top of the hill. I live up in the mountains off grid, so hopefully you guys can hear me. I'm not sure how great my service is.
It's loud and clear.
Hey, can you guys?
Yep, we can
Oh,
hear
there's a
you.
little lag. I see.
No, it's good. You're nice and clear.
Okay, great, perfect. Yeah, pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me on the show. This is awesome.
Yeah, for those that don't know, just as a quick introduction, Bodhi is also one of our.
Did I miss
our,
anything?
We're covering a little bit of that now. I'm going to share a little bit about the fact that we're talking about Star Atlas now, but also our connection with you is that you're also a big part of the Star Atlas community. In fact, one of the biggest asset holders for ships within the game, and you're also within the ONI faction, as we are as well, and you've got your own guild called Tree. So yeah, we see that you're also usually here within the live stream with us, sharing your thoughts and comments, and we figured it'd be great to actually have you on the show. So we do know we're going to have a little bit of a lag here, so we'll just give you some time to respond to some of the questions. But we're talking right now about our initial thoughts about score drop, and being that you have a wide variety of ships across the board, and especially large numbers in some areas. What were your thoughts, and did the ship drop meet your expectation? I mean, the ship drop score release. Might be a little long on the lag there. Not sure.
I didn't. I didn't
Yeah,
expect
totally.
that. There it goes.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it exceeded my expectations. I was looking forward to score, and then once they had once we got to see what the rewards are, I was pretty excited, and just the complexity of the mechanic. I just think it was really great. Some people were asking questions in general chat. Oh, how do I refuel my ship? And I just thought, like, oh, this is actually a game. This is pretty cool as far as what they were able to deliver on such a short period of time. And yeah, I think they've been doing a lot of recalibrating as time goes on, and it just seems like they have a pretty good understanding of where the community's at and what we need. And they're not giving us too much so that we don't wreck the economy, but then they're not giving us too little. It just seems great. Like the C11, I mean, that ship was at origination for like a couple hours. That's perfect, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it both at USDC
But yeah,
and also
as far as the earnings go.
So, Bodhi, what we'll do is if you start talking, we'll all just shut up because you have the lag. And if you see us talking after you've already spoke, just keep talking. We'll be quiet and let you finish.
Oh, okay. The only thing I wanted to add was, it seems like they kind of gave some incentive. I haven't done the math at all yet, honestly. But looking at some of the spreadsheets, it seemed like some of the smaller ships, they were rewarding a heavier amount, which I thought was kind of neat because it wasn't too much, but it was enough to where it really incentivized you to keep compounding your gains, right? So I thought that was kind of cool too.
So at one point, I noticed that you made a smart move, and I did something similar, and that is grab a bunch of the ships that were really undervalued. And we were also talking here a moment ago about how the difference in maintenance required for small ships versus large ships. And I know you have quite a fleet of the smallest racers. Are you finding that you're having to dive in there on a daily basis to refresh the resources and repair on those ships?
Shoot, sorry, I I thought I'd had better signal up here, but I missed one of your words, and it was really important, so I didn't understand.
Oh, I was asking on the smallest of the ships.
You're
that
asking
you
just the
have some-
resource, to compare the resources for the small ship versus the larger one. It seems like everything is pretty comparable in terms of actual ROI after expense. But just based on the spreadsheets I saw, it seemed like maybe the jet had like a high ROI, but I also saw that some of the info on those spreadsheets was incorrect. So who knows really?
Great,
Yeah.
great comment from the chat here, Zach Chang. Those Opal jet pilots are eating a lot. I'm not only worried about the resource costs, but about how much weight these guys are putting on the bike. It's a racer after all, right? And this goes back to what Jesse was actually asking you, Bodhi. Is are you finding that because you have a bunch of those $20 ships? Are you going to have to log in every day for those? Or
Yeah, it's like it's the same as if you have just one ship. So if you buy a jet, you can see it's like I think 18 hours for the food, maybe something like that.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
check
That's a
that.
pain.
Yeah, but every time, so I've been selling them in batches. So every time I take some off of the fleet and put them up for sale on the market, it restocks them. So to me, it's I haven't had to actually restock anything just because I've been, you know,
So
pulling
the
them off
Opal
and back
jet,
on.
the Opal jet is 24 hours. I just restocked mine so we could tell.
Nice.
So, question from the chat for you, Bodhi Tree. Handsome Kevin Smith says, could we get somewhere to follow for Bodhi? We never got your social media contacts. If you could hit us with them in the Discord, we'll try to get them on the screen for you at some point in the future. But you could just go ahead and say them right now if you want.
Yeah,
Social media, Twitter.
in the in Discord, I'm all in there all the time. Eventually, you will see me for sure. So just keep your eye out, and then you can just click my link or the link is in my bio. We haven't been doing a lot of advertising or anything like that for the guild, just because a lot of our fundamentals isn't in place yet. So we're just kind of working on the fundamentals before we really improve the front. Like we're working on the front end before we start really advertising. So, but yeah, you can definitely find me if you try. Otherwise, like we'll be more advertising a little bit more later.
So if you go into the Star Atlas Discord and you add Bodhi Tree, that'll help you to get your little link to where you can pull them up, and then you can try to hit his links from there. Is what he's saying.
Yeah, because we're not even on the Atlasio resource yet, or some of those pages we're not on yet.
Yeah, they are quite useful, but as a guild leader, they are stressful to set up, having to answer all the same questions again.
Yeah.
I did it on one of them, but I've been playing too hard, man. I haven't had any time.
Yeah, a lot of earning and a lot of learning out there in the space right now, for sure.
Yeah, so Max asks if resupply is automated, and it is not. That is the extent of gameplay we have right now. And yeah, when they need food, if it goes to 0, they stop earning, but you can quite quickly resupply it if you have it in your inventory. But yeah, in the future, they are going to be adding more things to the minigame, and all of these smart contracts, they are like cross-platform, so everything that happens in the minigame is helpful towards the Unreal Engine 5 game, and it's a big step they made this week.
Huge. It's a huge step.
I'm also curious to know, like, if down the road, if there'll be even adjustments to score. For example, I would think that repair costs should be less on an R8, and I would also think that any ship that has hydroponics within their, within the ship should have a reduced
score to me
food cost.
Is like the end of years of hard work. I can finally just stake these ships and settle down a little, calm down.
Right.
I think that's key. I mean, all of us moving through the metaverse, right? We're all invested in all these different projects, and your ROIs come or possibly never come, usually at after a great deal of time. And Star Atlas delivering here. I mean, how many NFTs have you bought that you're actually earning on today. You know, probably not a large percentage. So.
Well, and then the other piece of that is going to
Yeah, the
be
delivery
curious
has
to
been
see
amazing.
how
One of a kind, really.
It's going to be curious to see how Atlas holds up as more Atlas comes into the marketplace. Right now, it's at about 10.3 cents. But what is that long-term outlook? What does that look like? And then also, how often will they do the adjustments to account for that? So there's a few variables that are still out there that are unknowns. But so far, it's exciting to see it play out. And I'm sure they're probably pretty happy at Star Atlas too, because I mean the amount of planning that goes into this. And you just still it's an experiment, so you just really don't know economically how the infrastructure is going to hold up once you put it in play.
Yeah, that's a great question, Jesse. I mean, you got worst case scenario, it could go the way of SLP, right? Or it could hold up. I mean, you never know. I mean, Gala coin is a similar thing where there's constant sell pressure on it from node owners, and they've managed to make their coin go up. So it's a brand new space. There's a lot going on. Nobody knows all the answers. Everybody's like, inventing the ship as they're flying them, so we'll see what happens with Atlas.
And
Yeah, and people are aiming, like, starting from different ends of the spectrum. Like I said, Star Atlas is focusing from like the earn side first, and they're going to figure out the play. But Mirandus is doing their play test, and they have the play side down, but we're all questioning the earn. But
questioning the future of the ecosystem as a whole. Is that where you're going, Fancy?
Yeah, long-term, like, stability, I guess.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, because I mean the amount of NFTs they're selling without the play to earn mechanics to back all of those NFTs is something that's far different than what Star Atlas has done. Star Atlas, all the NFTs they've sold, for the most part, you're already earning a profit now. And if things keep going the way they're going, within under a year, you'll have ROI'd off of all the money you put in Star Atlas, which is something that most other projects can't say.
Yeah. And I just want to also give a shout out while we have Bodhi here, and to another guild called Afia Industries, and more specifically the Metaverse Explorer. He had a nice video that showed that went over his spreadsheet and the net US dollar yield on the VWAP per month. For the most part, 80% or 90% of ships are around 10% of a yield per month. And so, depending on how many ships or which ships you have, like you're faring pretty well after that initial transaction cost. Besides the X4, which is a 9.31% of a month of a yield on your dollars. So just keep staking.
Born to Jet from the chat, making himself famous today, 12/19/21, with his call. He's saying that they are going to introduce Polis staking to earn Polis and Atlas staking to earn Atlas. It can go only one way down. Don't know that I necessarily agree with that, but wanted to go ahead and give you your time in the light, but
Yeah, that's going to be coming out in February, from what I remember seeing and hearing, for Polis. And if I'm wrong, correct me, but only going down for both. Not sure.
Hopefully he was just talking about Atlas, but I think Polis is only going to go up. Personally, I think it's going to go the way of AXS. To be honest, I mean, governance token, tons of utility, and staking. I mean, there's going to be very little reason to sell that token beyond taking profits, and you're not going to want to do that. You're probably going to want to roll that back into the ecosystem somehow in order to continue earning, right? Because you can earn off the ships and burn Atlas instead. So
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what people do with the Atlas they earn. Today, as a test, I claimed some of the staking rewards from my Calico hero. From 3 days, I was able to get 2 Opal Jets, and I was quite pleased with that process. It was all really smooth, claiming and then buying with those funds, and then adding it to my current existing fleet.
Yeah, I haven't claimed any Atlas yet, but my strat is going to be to increase my Polis bags, because there's going to be way more utility or importance of having more Polis in the future. Definitely check out the econ paper and the white paper for Star Atlas. You can check out our previous videos. We've done that before, but
yeah, we did go in depth at the time.
Yeah, 24-hour mark hit. I immediately sold all the. I claimed all my Atlas, turned it into Polis. That's something I do with any kind of investment. Is as soon as there's a chance to ROI available, I make sure that's possible, and it is possible. Turn it into Polis, and now, like the rest of you, I think I'm just letting it stack up and seeing what it can do.
Yeah, Bodhi, I'm curious to know, what's your strat? What's your long-term play? If you would like to share, it's no pressure. But from what you've maybe had plans before the score release, and then now afterwards, has anything changed specifically or generally? More confident, less confident on the coins, and what their use cases are going to be? Any long-term, short-term? Let's see how long this delay is.
Shoot, I miss a lot of what's being said. I might have to find a better spot. You were asking me which coins I'm more bullish on.
Yeah, Polis and or Atlas. Yes. If you had any short-term plans that changed after and before the score release.
Oh, for Polis? No, I've been kind of sitting on the sidelines on Polis, honestly, for quite some time. I've been more, anytime I'm anticipating, like a drop, I might move over into Polis, but for the most part, I prefer the volatility of Atlas right now. Definitely, I'm going to be, slowly increasing my dollar cost average into Polis over time, though, for sure. Until eventually, probably it'll be like most of my income going into Polis.
Yeah, me personally, I'm kind of torn right now between the two. So we're in a situation where we have Atlas that we're earning, and there's a couple things you can do with it. You can take it out, put it into other projects. You can use it to buy more ships, more assets. You're obviously going to need some of it to keep your ships on missions, or you could take it and turn it into Polis. And so right now, that's a bit of speculation as to what Polis is going to do. And we also have a date for the DAO that is tentatively for February, but we know how development dates can go. So there's the potential that could get pushed out a month or two. So in the meantime, I'm kind of like going back and forth, like, maybe another consideration is to put it into more ships, because I know right now what ships are earning. So that's a consideration to compound what you're doing with Atlas now, and then continue, and then take that later, and then begin to put that towards Polis. Again, no financial advice on this show. We're just talking about the things that we're considering for ourselves.
That's more or less my strategy.
I like both of those ideas. I like the idea of staking Polis, but I also like the idea of the ships. I think the ROI on the ships is greater than Polis. At the same time, as a future Star Atlas player, I know Polis is going to be important, so I don't want to completely neglect DCA into Polis at all. So I'm kind of caught between the two of you on that one. This comment by Crow from the chat: they need to introduce new ways of burning Atlas before it drops too much, perhaps making Atlas the only way to buy ships. I would agree with that on the surface, but I didn't educate myself on that fully. I know that there was a lot of talk about that in the Discord back in the day. Did any of you guys catch that and get an idea of what the different arguments were for and against that idea?
So the team likes getting paid in USDC because it's quite a stable way of just receiving income. They can pay their people off that. But they were quite generous, in fact, to open it up to Atlas as well, because that's like half their that's half their like revenue coming in that they are allowing to like go into this token that they're just going to hold long term. That's what they're saying pretty much. So they're using like the USDC to pay wages and things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
I think
just
as soon as we have other things, As soon as we have other things that we can purchase in Atlas, whether that is land sales, whether that are things associated with more, which is the mining operation, which will be another way for us to earn. I think that once there's more things that you can spend your Atlas on, that will kind of give some weight to stabilizing its price.
Yeah, Timmy B, he talks about the two options right here: small and cheapest, or save up for a bigger one. And I know a lot of people are gonna just withdraw every couple days because having that pretty much earned money just going to ships is a solid way to just build up a large fleet. And if you're staking a large fleet all at once, it might be more efficient than trying to get loads of different types.
Here's a thought I have on that answer, and that is that the smaller ships are going to require more consistent and regular maintenance. As we're the larger ship, you'll be able to just let it run for longer without having to touch it on these missions. But I also sense that because all of these ships at this point are going to be likely to be considered Genesis, that the larger ships are probably going to have a greater resale value down the road. So that's just a thought that I have about whether or not I'd want to get more smaller ships or larger ships. The other thing that I'd look at with that is the value. Like, can you get a bunch of smaller ships that are well below, the VWAP, simply meaning the price that is established as a baseline for which you're compensated on when you stake that ship. So I know Bodhi went in and grabbed a bunch. I did as well, the jets, because it was literally like 40% under, so I knew I'd be making more for getting those ships. So that's a consideration. It's kind of like long term, what do you think the value of the ships will be, whether they're the smaller ones or some of the more rare larger ones, and then also what are you going to get now if you're able to buy those ships heavily undervalued. So I think there's a couple of considerations.
Just to piggyback on what you just said, Jesse, I think you're absolutely right. The what we've seen so far is the bigger ships have appreciated a great deal more than the cheaper ships. And then with the cheaper ships, we've actually seen some depreciation in certain ones, including that Opal Jet. And so if your goal is to invest for cash flow, then obviously the cheaper ships, buying as many as you can as the cheaper ships to get that lower or the better. I don't know if it's lower or higher, but to get a better position with the VWAP and the daily distribution is your move. If you're looking for ease of management and long-term appreciation, the larger ships is probably the way to go.
Definitely, yeah. And I think when land eventually comes as well, if they make that an Atlas only type thing, that'll definitely be good for Atlas. Yeah, they've also. So let's go on to the images they released with the fleet missions, and it gives a quick explanation of the kind of lore behind why everyone is staking their ships. So since the signing of the Pearce Treaty in 25-23, the Council of Pearce has been attempting to establish their borders by heavily militarizing their respective security zones and actively colonizing the medium risk zones. When I read this, I wasn't really sure what type of role the Pearce Council was playing, if they're like the Empire from Star Wars, or if there's like a legitimate threat that they're kind of pushing out towards. Yeah, it definitely seems like a stark contrast to how they portrayed the Ecos people, like the Thimble.
Right.
Well, I see this here as peace rather than Pierce. So I think this is a collective across the board.
Yeah, I misread that. Peace.
So yeah, I mean, I guess they're trying to give us some lore, to give us some storyline to go along with what we're doing now for staking.
Yeah. So they released 3 of these. This one just explains putting your things to work, but this one hints at like what they're going to do in the future by making the ship missions like more specific to the class they are. So like racer and all the quest giver examples they had in the past. that's definitely going to be exciting.
Yeah, I kind of like the way they rolled it out because I was expecting that your different types of ships would be doing different types of things right in the beginning, and you'd have a much higher learning curve to get started. It's kind of nice the way they did it to where we can learn how to operate the system before the quests get too complex.
For sure. And these pictures, they're really cool. In fact, like let's say Calico Guardian just being paired.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is that ship that it's on? Do we know?
I'm not sure. Yeah. Well, there's a Pierce C11 in the background, so this could be another one.
Titan, possibly.
Yeah, maybe. Looks like a Titan class ship. If that's a C11 back there.
Yeah, a lot of cool ships. I especially like this one because it has a lot of the different types up there. There's like Thimble. At the bottom, there's
That large
Opods.
mosquito.
Yeah.
And
what was it? Somebody said the thing from Harry Potter. What was that thing called? Somebody said that last week. That was funny.
The one all the way at the bottom looks
Yeah.
like the 1987 RoboCop robot that tries to fight and kill RoboCop. It just that top. Yeah, if you look at a picture, you know what I'm talking about. But
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
it's just
Quidditch, the Quidditch thing from Harry Potter. That's what that.
The golden
Greek comic
snitch.
fight. The golden snitch. Yeah,
That's
there we go.
it, yeah. And we also are going to look at this week since now we have all of our ships in staking. The leaderboards are a bit messed up again because they don't appear in your inventory. So there is Mud is in the lead from what Santi shared with us after the first day. And I wonder what this is looking like now.
This is really close to what we've been kind of speculating on for some time, saying that at the time that Score launches, we anticipated the ship value to be around 60 million. It's right there at 57. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Yeah, and we did definitely see like a big amount of people joining before. ONI definitely got a big jump in stats just before Score started.
Yeah, lots of people registered a faction and got involved, and it pushed a lot of people down.
Yeah, and the first half of those new sales as well that we discussed last week.
Yeah, so that's good to see. You know, a lot more people getting involved, whether they've been on the sidelines or not, just choosing a faction.
It's going to be interesting to see what becomes of that total fleets deployed now that we see it's around 36.6. Like, how's that going to scale over time? And of course, we do have another sizable ship drop coming up in just 4 more days.
Mm-hmm. And this is sixth. Well, we got an update from Chipto, our official.
Chipto.
Our official source is 63 million this morning. So.
Awesome.
Yeah, has gone up a bit. A couple million on each one. I hope ONI's in the lead now.
You know, as long as it keeps that total value lock keeps going up, I mean, that's obviously going to be a win for the Star Atlas devs in general, and for all of us that are invested in the ecosystem. So it's good to see. What's up, Chipto?
And I agree with you, Bonafide, because these games. I would like to include DeFi Kingdoms on the Harmony blockchain. They're going to have an expansion to AVAX, but also Axie Infinity, where it's just like maybe not so much Axie Infinity, but just from the time that you're spending, whether there was NFTs or just the idea of the game, and then what was expressed via a tokenomics paper and a white paper, and then the follow-up with what was shared with the community members. So it's promising that the developments are coming out in a timely fashion. Not so much time in between after there's actual utility that takes place with these NFTs. So, you know, once the ball gets rolling, it the snowball starts to, like the compounding effect mentioned by Junior in the comments. Shout out Junior. But it's the compound not just with earnings, but it's just with the progress of the project overall. So it's promising to see, and you know, we're here to support it.
Yeah. Also this week, Wagner, he said that in the showroom feature, we can go inside the ships. So that's a little bit of alpha for you there. That's going to be really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'll be cool. I wanna go inside my Rainbow Chi and my Rainbow Ohm really bad.
Yeah,
Like,
like when
those
a
ships are
feature
super
like
cool.
that gets
Yeah.
released, it's going to be like the ship prices. Everyone's going to be staking. Who's going to want to sell when that's happening? So they're just going to skyrocket, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
Not
It's going to be great.
financial advice.
No financial advice. No, it's going to be great to see to scale or to compare and contrast the different ships that you have and just actually see them in a 3D-ish, a model compared to just a 2D. It's going to be a big jump as far as the confidence that we'll have with the ships that we purchased, and it might even change people's opinions of the ships they even have. They might,
Right.
they might, there might be
True.
sales. There might be sales, so you watch out when that happens. Some arbitrage opportunity.
Great comment from Chris from the chat. Live conversion of Atlas to USDC on website like Axie Marketplace, wrapped ETH to USDC. I think that's a great idea. I think as these games develop, one of the best things they can do when they have multiple tokens, which seems to be the successful economic model for these games, is to have multiple tokens, is that you run your own decks, right? And then you allow for liquidity providing, just like Sky Mavis did. I mean, they have liquidity providing, they have staking, all within inside their own ecosystem, to the point where you can actually, once you've invested into the ecosystem, you don't have to come out. You can continue to grow your stack inside that ecosystem without ever leaving. And I think that's a good thing for any of these projects to consider in the future.
That's what every project is going to do. Like it's almost, that's the next stage of evolution with NFT gaming projects or projects in general. If they're really going to want to become a force to be reckoned with in this space, where it's just like the 2.0 is the new 2.0 is going to be a DEX that's either built on top. The game is built on top of a DEX via DeFi Kingdoms, or you're going to have now incorporating and building a DEX after the game is already out. So it's all in-house and maybe even on its own chain, side chain, if the chain that you're on is like ETH, for why Axie built Ronin, which is the side chain that they're on. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, DeFi is important, and it's going to be important for your ecosystems going forward. And basically what that allows for you to basically have your own country at that point. Your game becomes its own part of the metaverse, and it's not necessary for you to lean on anything outside of yourself.
Right.
Yeah, so another thing that Wagner mentioned in the town hall is that they are going to have a big surprise at the end of the year. Any thoughts, guys? What do you think, Bodhi?
Man, I heard you. I remember him saying something about that, but I don't know. It's weird because they already left for their break, right? So maybe I mean, I have no idea. These guys are really something else. Honestly, I have no idea.
I think it could be something low maintenance. It could be like a new trailer. The other things I was considering, if it wasn't time for a break, we do know that of the existing poster drops, Legends is in there. Who knows? There could, at some point, I would expect there could potentially be another Legends because the way that that's staged. You go there now and there's just one. So could be a surprise like that. It could be a JV with another NFT that provides some value, kind of like they just did. The necklace was the last one, and of course they did the apparel before that. But those kind of things take maintenance and support. So I think it's probably just going to be news based, like a new trailer or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past them that they already have everything ready to go, and they prepared ahead of time. But I don't put it past them to sell us something, maybe not so large in price, but now that we have staking, I think it would be after the ships, the ship sales for this year into next year. So we only have 2 weeks left. So for sure, there's going to be something to maybe purchase, in my opinion. That's my prediction.
Yeah, maybe this is something they've been holding on to for a while. Like maybe it was ready back in September when they said they were first going to drop it. But end of year announcement, yeah, it's going to be fun.
I think something commemorative to close out the year would be pretty cool going into next year. So maybe it's something around that, just kind of highlights, where Star Atlas is now and going into the next year, and to reward folks that are a part of the project now. So, yeah.
yeah, that would get a lot of goodwill, and they've already got a lot, really.
So, Bodhi, I mean, now that we have Score live and we're all basically invested in earning now, with your guild Tree, you guys have any new alpha to drop or new ideas that came out as a result of you guys being able to earn all of a sudden and the game going forward as you thought it would?
Don't sleep on the collectibles.
There you got it. There you go, guys.
No, we haven't
I've held
done a
on
lot
to
of.
mine. Sorry, go on.
We haven't done a lot of the math, yet. But so I don't know if there's much as far as one ship being significantly better than the other, but definitely I would say keep your eye on the market, because as these new players start to come in, I think that a lot of I think that the dust is gonna settle, and where you're at's gonna be where you're at, right? As far as like what you got, and it might be impractical to try and move funds from one resource into another when they're both in price discovery, right? Yeah, I just would suggest to not miss any of the gems that are on there on the marketplace.
And one more quick question: how many tree arrows are you gonna buy?
Oh, put me on the spot. 5.
I like
There you
it.
go.
You deserve it, man. You deserve it for sure. That's you got to have tree arrows in the guild tree. I mean, come on, those things are beautiful.
What I'm wondering, I've been looking at this over and over again, and this is on my radar as well. I've spent some time going through all the different images and looking at the layouts like this and the sizes and the bomb bays and all the different capabilities that come with this ship. And one of the biggest questions I have over time is how much customization will you be able to do of that habitat area? Because that opens up some incredible opportunities if you could full on customize that to create an experience to draw people to your ship.
Yeah, you make an Airbnb on the beach there. That'd be sweet.
Right.
Yeah, or you can make a whole in-house greenhouse to produce mass
it seemed
amounts
like
of food.
some of the pictures had.
You got it, Bodhi. Keep going. Just walk.
Yeah,
it seemed like some of the pictures were different. Like it seemed like one of the tree arrows had a lot more land in it and like more paths and like less water, and then another one was like more like swimming pools. Yeah, so like that one you can see there's like a lot of land, and it's almost like a ocean or a lake on one side. Whereas if you kind of scroll through, you'll see some of them. Keep going. There's one in particular that just looks like it's different. Is it that one?
Might not have it all.
Might be that one. I'm not. Yeah, you can just tell that they're all a little different. Well, no, those ones are the same. Yeah, there was one I saw for sure. I don't remember where it was, but it definitely had a different vibe to it. It looked more like a luxury, like swimming pool type situation, whereas this, I guess this kind of has that too. It's so big. Maybe I was just looking at one side of it.
Yeah, I don't have all of the pictures of ships on the gallery we have here. There's like a maximum limit, and there is a lot of ships now.
Yeah, but I wouldn't put it past them to have anyone who bought one able to edit the inside the way they would like to see it themselves. That would be pretty limiting, especially if you're paying that much money.
Right. Well, it also makes me think of like spaceports too. So when we eventually see a spaceport, and I guess the only thing we have to compare it to now, for those of you that have paid attention to Gala Games Mirandus, when we look at a land deed, we see you see these plots and places where you can put things. And I'm curious, will spaceports and will ships that have capability for that as well? A large ship, are there going to be places that you could put in stores and shops and things like that? What will be the level of customization that you can make your ship or your spaceport?
I mean, they almost have to allow that, especially for some of these larger ships. I mean, and then if you go back to the Rainbow Ohm, there's supposed to be an art gallery there. So the art, hopefully it's not going to be the same art across all the ships. It's got to be like you're going to be able to put your own stuff up there, right?
Yeah, that'd be great. Like that's why I've kept on to my posters in hopes I can
decorate it how you want, right?
Yeah, decks on people.
I mean, because of the size of those tree arrows, I mean, you could literally hold a concert event there, man. Like at a DJ, and of course, then you have people that show up in the metaverse, and even if they don't have a ship, then like has been talked about on Kagajan's show, someone could start their own transportation service, just getting people to and from different locations. So yeah, I mean the potential is endless, but I know we're obviously in this early stage where you can only do so much at a time, and I'm happy with the pace that things are moving along and excited to see what continues to unfold. But yeah, that tree arrow is now back on my radar for sure.
Yeah, so I guess it's last thing to mention is that polis staking is February 3rd, unless they move it again.
Yep.
And the team is taking a break right now, so there might not be much news next week, but the end of year surprise, it should be good. So moving on to, do you want to
I have
say
one
something?
thought on the ship staking before you jumped from
Mhm.
there. Not ship staking, but the polis staking. So do we think that at that point, is it going to be simply a matter of you choose your 3, 6, 9 months, or the 36 months? I think it goes up to 3 years, and of course you're rewarded based on the longer you lock in your polis. But do we think that if they have figured that part of the DAO out, do we think that that is also around the time that they're opening up the actual guild based DAO stuff? Or do we think that that's going to be way further out? Will you be able to claim your guild?
I think the guild stuff is probably a ways out. I haven't heard him mention anything, and that should be fairly complex, I would think.
The reason I ask that is that I know that's something they've been working on for quite some time, and I think it would be really exciting if they could open up the opportunity for guild staking of polis. That gives people the opportunity as a guild even to put towards it. Probably, as you mentioned, probably still far off, but I know that they are simultaneously working on some of the guild DAO functionality, and just curious if they were going to potentially surprise us with releasing some of that around the same time.
I would love to see that. Shout out to Chipto. I would love to see I would love to see the guild DAOs coming as soon as possible for sure. We could definitely use it.
Yeah, so with the polis staking, I remember him saying there are 4 different contracts you're going to be able to use. I can't remember if he said specifically what they are, but like there's going to be options with what you can do.
Including the length of time you can lock them up. I think I forget now, but was it 3 to 5 years? Was there a lockup period for about a year?
I seem to recall like it was like 6 months, 9 months, all the way up to like 36 months.
Yeah, that's what it was. And we'll see how lucrative the rewards will be for locking up your polis for that long.
Yeah, so moving on to the Miranda's playtest this week, then it opened up, and yeah, it does a lot. It looks a lot different from what we last saw, but a lot of it's the same as well. Any initial opinions, guys?
Honestly, I'm not really that impressed with it, and I didn't have too many expectations, other than you log in, you're on this beach, and you can jump around with, like, the jumping is like superpowers right now. It's way overinflated. You could jump across an entire river for the most part, and yeah, you get this blocky herd of something, and you can cruise through the castle, and you're supposed to go pick up your materium. My experience is kind of mixed. I'm like on one side, with all of the exemplars that I have, I was anticipating having to spend a lot of time, but I've never even seen a materium in the game, and I have every single one of my avatars checked. So I'm assuming that because people were having so much trouble, that they just had put something in place that if you struggled in any way, they just checked all your avatars, because I'm done and I haven't actually ever seen materium.
Yeah, we've had people with that problem as well in the guild. You're not the only person.
My struggle was getting in at first, and then once I got in, I thought it was pretty great. It was nice to see the castle. Hopefully, at launch they're a lot bigger than that. But and I went and I found the materium, and I did it on. I don't have as many exemplars as you do, but I went through and did it on all mine individually, and I actually had to, but I did it all on like the second day or the third day. So went through, did that, and then I thought it was pretty cool that you could actually like you could craft a little bit, you could shoot and kill those deer. You know, people. I think we're gonna get into it in a minute, but people found an ogre, so they've definitely made some progress. I'm not sure how much overall, like how close this means we are to some alpha, like actual playable alpha or beta, but I think they're moving along. You could see the difference between the different exemplars. Was this the first time we could see the difference between like an orc and a halfling and an elf and all that?
No,
so
you could see
could
that in
tell.
the second test.
Yeah, you might be able, I'm not sure if I like that I saw humans with like a green scarf, and that might have been like a green cloak type thing, but maybe all humans were like that. So
yeah, I felt like the last time I did a play test, which I don't do all of them obviously from Randus, but the last time I did one, everybody was a human, so I was surprised to actually see orcs and halflings running around in dwarves and stuff. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, the vibes I get from this, it's bringing me back to the Legend of Zelda, the
Yeah.
the Wind Waker. So as it develops, I'm pretty fond of the art. I know it's pretty simplistic, and it doesn't take much to, I guess, replicate something like this with just things you could purchase. But nevertheless, it's nostalgic as it develops for myself personally. And I was able to get the Materium right here on the steps of the statue. It would be right there, and it was like a horde of people just hanging out. And I would see people doing that speed run of disappearing on the steps and then just reappearing with the other exemplar. I was able to go through all of mine, and although Gala Games has their own timeline and their own ways of building out, like I said on episode 3 of what we're doing here, I always say that no matter who comes and builds, there's going to be success in the long run because of just how early everything is. So there's money to be made by flipping, but buying and holding never did me wrong. Not financial advice.
Yeah, I mean overall, as far as Mirandus goes, like I never expected it to be graphically intensive, or I never really expected a whole lot more than basics from the gameplay. I think what they were always going for was story and economics, and the fact that they weren't very forthcoming with the economics was always the biggest issue for me, since that was a big part of the game, was obviously going to be the story, and economics is all you got. And so now that Gala Power and Townstar and things like that are coming along, I think there's a chance that they might nail the economics for Mirandus. Still waits to be seen, because there's a whole lot of NFTs floating around out there without any earning going on. But as far as the game itself, I've been dying to play this game since I first heard about it. So hopefully they get it together. I might even because I'd put a ban on all Miranda's purchases as far as NFTs go, and I don't know. I'm feeling more comfortable about them now. I'm still worried about the CEO, but they obviously their marketing is top notch.
Yes.
Well, I was just going to say, so if they continue with that and they actually produce anything half of what they say they're going to produce, it's going to do well.
Yeah, and even Galaverse took place over the last week, I guess it was, and I did have a ticket to watch it live, and I did get that basketball court NFT drop that they said they promised. I know a lot of people weren't able to, and they gave an announcement saying that if you weren't able to get one, you have to fill out a form, just like other times when there was unsuccessful or issues with drops. But just going back to Mirandus and the art, and just how when I played, I did enjoy myself. And shout out to Punjab here. He mentioned that he just likes how, and for what it's worth, it did feel good to play and to see what the larger world, again feeding into our imagination, which Mirandus and Gala Games is good at. So it was nice to know, and unfortunately the wolf. There was supposed to be a wolf as well as deer, and that ogre, if you want to call him that. But they weren't able to get the wolf in last minute. Something went awry, and you were able to craft bow and arrows and do very minimal things. I just hope that the game. I think it's going to be over a year from now, or about a year from now. They said that there's going to be a playable beta. I just hope that that's the actual timeline, because for a year, in my opinion, it's way too long to not have more updates or plays, periodic updates for a particular game. I know there's a lot on their plate, but that's no excuse, in my opinion, because there's projects out there that are working with half the amount of people on the team with less than half the amount of money, and they got many updates and something actual playable that you can earn and even stake. For example, like Star Atlas, you can stake the NFTs you have, but with anything that you buy off Mirandus or Gala Games in general, besides the Town Star,
they're not giving anything back. Right.
I mean, for me, I'm with you with the graphics part. The graphics don't bother me. I like the palette. I like the color palette. Right. I like the shapes and the way that they've gone about creating the world. But the one thing that really just doesn't do it for me, and it's just a personal thing, is that in a world like this, I want to see my character. In the absence of a third-person view, if they don't do that, then
that bothers me too, Jess. Yeah, that bothered me too a great deal. I said that bothers me too. Like, I really wanted to look at my orc, and I couldn't. Like, I was looking at somebody else's orc, but I couldn't. I wanted to look at myself, and I understand what he's trying to do as far as locking you into first person, but that needs to be an option that he can take away in certain environments. Like, say if you're in a dungeon, he takes it away. Yeah. But I mean, that's part of these games. That's the social aspect of these games. You want to see yourself walking through town. You don't necessarily want to be walking. I mean, you're in town. You're safe. You're not gonna create a great story in the town. Let us walk through the town and see ourselves interacting with people. And then going back to what you were saying, Ray. Mirandus is one of the games that we're all into, where they haven't actually been able to keep up with their timelines. So they were supposed to have they were supposed to basically have Score that we just talked about in Star Atlas already running for Mirandus right now. And they not only have they not done that, I don't know that they've actually come out clearly to the community and say, hey, we apologize, and this is why, and they haven't done any of that.
Do you know the first place it was even mentioned? It was mentioned in a tweet, the banter of Bitbender and I going back and forth, where I was saying, I bet you every single one of my Mirandus assets, you will not have a playable alpha by the end of this year. That was the first mention that he even said that, we're probably not going to do that. Right. And so the other part of it too, that just still lingers with me, where I have this thing with Mirandus and the development team, is that I kind of feel like it's been pieced along altogether. They do as much as needs to be released. I mean, the lore continues to change dramatically, which to me suggests they didn't even have a lore in the very beginning. Magic was supposed to be something so incredibly rare. Now we have Materium. And here we are gathering Materium, but we don't even know what Materium does or what we're going to be able to use it for. Yes, we'll be able to use it for crafting. We'll build some things like that, but we don't know its value. I don't even know where to find it right now, being that we've collected it. Where does it live? So I kind of feel like if you want to bring a community along with you, you should have them enrolled in that story more than they are doing. I feel like we're just being spoon-fed the stuff that they feel is going to help stretch out the timeline for them. And I'm kind of resentful about that.
No, I think you're right, Jesse. I think I've said it before, the predatory nature of the CEO, they're far too much about selling NFTs and making money right now, as opposed to focusing on creating a great game. And that comes through in all the things they're doing. Like you just mentioned, without having a strong storyline they're sticking to, they're kind of floating around like, oh, we can do this and get more exemplar sales by saying that you're going to get Materium if you have for each exemplar you got. And then they go back and forth on a lot of things. but there's always a sell involved. You get more information, but all of a sudden it becomes a very clear sales tactic to sell the cemeteries. That keeps coming through with them. At the same time, I'm going to sell you an NFT mirror. Yeah, we had a joke in Discord earlier. One of our guys took a picture of the catapults and stuff they had, and said that there's another NFT that I found the next NFT drop they're going to give us, and that's kind of how they've been moving. At the same time, I'm a nerd, so probably when we get off of the podcast, I just found out that Miranda's testnet is still live. So I'm gonna make a bow and I'm gonna go try to find that ogre. Because did you guys ever? Guys find the ogre? I haven't found the ogre. I didn't even know that was the thing.
Yeah, I found the ogre. I was having fun with him, and then if you have a bow, you can't. The bow actually, it goes right through him. So that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But
So I'm gonna try and play a video. Hopefully, you can continue to talk over it. I tried to mute it in advance.
There you go.
So is this you or is this something else?
I pulled it from.
Okay.
I think it was GalaChat.
Yeah.
But yeah, just follows you around. It can't attack you, but
it can't hurt you.
No, it can't.
I don't think
you disappear, and then you get teleported. You get So what actually happens is it's an insta death, and you get teleported back to the castle, or the steps of the front of the castle. Because I actually made myself get hit by.
I'm about to say I'm about to go get teleported.
And so that's pretty cool. And I could imagine, what would the damage be if you had enough health? If this is the actual game or beta from a year from now that we're going to be able to play. If it's going to be as dangerous and as creepy and scary as they're saying it's going to be, then you're not just going to be going out running around. You're going to have a lot of wolves. You're going to have a lot of I don't know, even other characters that could potentially kill you. Are there PvP areas? I know we went into a lot of theory crafting, but it's fun to do that still. Although there's more that we expect from the team itself as far as transparency. But you can't go wrong with the little theory crafting.
And going back to what we've all been saying, like I don't trust them as far as investment, NFTs, tokenomics, play to earn. Like I don't trust that it's a good investment to get in the gala, but I still am in love with the idea that image that you just showed, Fancy, that video is sick to me. And when I hear Michael McCarthy talk about his plans, and not really even plans, right, but his ideas for what he might want to do in the game, like I still get excited. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah, last week we were talking about some of their tokens, like obviously the first real play to earn within the Galaverse ecosystem was Townstar. And so I've been watching their coin, and at first I was kind of intrigued. It's like, wow, look at Townstar and the opportunities here, because I thought it had a lower max, but then I found out they have a 1 quadrillion max supply. And then I started looking at the coin itself, and I think its all-time high was $2, and it just keeps plummeting. I don't know if it's going to find a floor. It's at about 60 cents right now. So I don't. Anyone else know enough about what's going on with their main token now? Not Gala, but Town itself. If it's going to stabilize, if it's going to find a bottom, is there anything that's going to hold its value?
Not sure. Couldn't even speak in confidence about it because of the lack of information we have from the actual company or team who created the tokenomics. Like, I don't know how sound any of the tokenomics will ever be unless it's explicitly shared and those job positions for economists are fulfilled or filled in. Because at this point we still don't know, who at this point is building out the economics of any particular game. Besides Townstar, which is just like a closed loop kind of system.
Right. Any particular game at Gala. Yeah. I mean, it's like you said, Ray, we can't trust them, and we have no information because they're not giving out any information, and we don't know who to trust. But the Gala power thing does incentivize purchasing and holding the token. So they do have that. Outside of that, and what their plans are, I mean, who knows? That's part of the problem with Gala games in general.
Yeah, and by all means, like like I said, they'll be successful, and there's people making great amount of money, heaps upon heaps if you're in early or able to buy NFTs that increase the Gala power, um, and then also if you have enough Gala power to use those NFTs to help you earn more. So it's going to continue growing as far as the the accessibility, and then also the amount of money you'll be able to make over time. And that's the X factor here. It's everything is over time, no matter what avenue any particular game or project or dev team takes, where you'll see some type of return outside of just the appreciation of the assets themselves. Because over time, Gala is not going to be a rug project. It's not going to be a rug pull. There's going to be a lot of um, people who aren't content over time. And then as they learn more about other games and the ecosystem as a whole of the DeFi gaming or NFT gaming and crypto in general, that they'll know to discern, a project over another, and then that includes Gala Games. But it wouldn't count them out as a place to just invest. And for what it's going to be worth, they're going to have games that are fun. Whether the tokenomics aren't as sound or you don't earn as the same amount as other projects, the games potentially and most likely will be fun, as there's people who built projects in other games that were fun before. It's not like you just build games that are less and less fun over time. The games and the genres are going to be more or less the same in over time. It's just a remake of a space genre or first person shooter or a MOBA or so there'll be something for everyone.
But what do you think about? So we've got these games that have been mentioned, like the Walking Dead Empires, and so there's land sales in that. There's ports that recently come out. Remember back in the day, it was like in the very early stages, you could buy, like, what do they say? The first Outpost was like for Moranis was like $50, and now it's a $32,000 open secondary market. Well, when
with
I'm looking
zero
at
utility.
prices, yeah, and now we don't really even know much about what the deeds are going to be for Walking Dead Empire, but Gala learned that they can make more money by charging more up front, and so $700,000 for 1.5 million Gala for a deed claim in a game that we don't know anything about. It's that kind of stuff that I'm like, really? You guys just keep selling and selling and selling, and you're doing it without making it clear what a person is actually getting, what the utility is. And
It's
they
dangerous.
just keep scaling the prices.
It's super dangerous what they're doing, and that's what has always scared me about them. They have all these influencers now chilling the project. They have massive amounts of money, so it's their ecosystem to build or break as they see fit, and there's all the room in the world for them to be successful, but they seem to be walking a dangerous line, and that's what's going on with them. So
When they
Yeah.
have four games out, and across all those games, they're selling land deeds for millions of dollars, literally like over $1 million for a land deed in several different
Right.
games right now. Their focus is spread all over the place, and still we don't know what a person will get for that. And I agree with you, but I think it is dangerous because it's creating this inflated economy where they've essentially proven that they're just going to continue to raise the price until they feel resistance.
Kind of reminds me of the United States, right? I mean, they're just printing money is what they're doing. They're printing NFTs, and it's like, okay, you printed all these NFTs. At what point are you going to create the ecosystem where the valuation is going to represent what you've sold these things to people at?
Yeah, and thank God for me having a node, because if it wasn't for that generation of Gala tokens, then I wouldn't have taken part in anything that was being sold after the initial purchases I made for Miranda's assets. And I did happen to get uncommon land plot for Walking Dead, and at a cheaper price, one of the cheapest boats that they sold, which is ironic because people are buying them and they're being sold. I don't know why that was the case, but a member of our Discord, blew the horn and shared the OpenSea link of the boats that were sold out at the cheapest price that were selling for way less than what they were sold initially by Gala. So,
And you just brought up nodes, which is another scary point. My node investment is a great investment. I've been very happy with it, but recently they've been raising the price of the nodes exponentially month on month at an obvious attempt to slow down the sales of the nodes, not wanting to hit that 50,000 number when they're supposed to turn into NFTs. And the question becomes, why are you slowing down the sales of the nodes when you're pushing the sales of all these other NFTs? What's going on the back end? We don't know. They're not telling us. But that's something that bothers me, is that they seem like they don't want to sell that last node for some reason. And that's there were landmarks that were initially said that were going to happen when all the nodes were sold. And is that what's going on? Like what's happening?
So I have a question for you guys that have nodes, and it's not necessarily how many you have, but more my question is, in the time that you've had those nodes, what would you say is the average amount of NFT drops that you've gotten per node?
So I've gotten, I don't know, I've gotten quite a few in number, I would say, since I bought the node. I mean, I've gotten over 5 drops.
Okay.
Now, if you ask me how many of those were actually anything good, 0.
No, just any at all.
I've gotten skins is what I've gotten dropped. I've gotten, basically nothing, like nothing that was worth anything, nothing that was usable in any kind of way. Basically just random skins.
The only reason I ask is I was in this unusual situation when I first started my Gala account way back when, where their private key server was down. And so there was a handful of us that just got hosed and we had to create a new account. I've never received anything other than the actual Gala distribution for my node. And I put in support tickets and just saying, hey, was there something that maybe created a disconnect? Because I've never once, and it's been since like March or so, sometime around there, never received anything ever, any NFTs. And so I was just curious, and I've asked other people, but I don't really get answers. Just curious, is there anyone else that's had a node for all this time and has never received a single NFT?
We might get an NFT to every node owner that might have an FU from the. It might be just on a napkin with the writing in a pen, just like a FU. You didn't risk your money, so and that's another thing. Because this isn't an investment. Of course, none of our money is at risk because this isn't an investment. Only the one who created Gala Games with their own investment, as they didn't have any VC money, is the one. Telling that to their community members who spent maybe the most money in the beginning, still, or maybe just selling their assets. But
so
you
made out, Bodhi. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead. Yeah, and then Bodhi, just seeing his name reminds me of you're better off spending $1 million on some Star Atlas ships because you're gonna have that return. And then if you want to take the risk with Gala, then you just hop over there and buy whatever you want. But it's not going to be what you might have wanted, which was a Citadel, which was $1 million+ dollars. So and it sucks because you might want that Citadel. You can afford it if you're Bodhi or just someone who just made out really well in crypto over the years. And at that point you're doing your due diligence. So it's just such a tug of war to even buy anything more than what I guess you can afford to lose. And $1 million, no one wants to lose it, even if you could afford to lose it.
That's the thing right there is with all these things, just always remember that you don't ever put in anything that you can't afford to lose ever. And if you do that, then you'll be in a good place and you'll get lucky going over it. Bodhi, I think you got real lucky with this that East Wing. I think you can make money on in town with that right now. So you might want to look into that. That's a good drop. And then Rob Mega, shout out to Rob Mega of Rome, one of our guild mates. Over time, I've noticed you've mentioned a couple times that you got some nice drops from your node that I was very happy to see. But you're like the only person who I've seen get something really nice besides Bodhi just now saying that he got something decent.
Tell us what you're doing.
You got a couple of good ones, bro. Yeah. Yeah. Who do you know? Are you quietly like a friend of Eric or something? Should I? No.
Oh, well, there you go. Having more than one node will definitely get you more drops. Increase the chances.
Yeah. Maybe that's the key, Jesse. You got to have 10 nodes.
And then maybe.
For 100, what are they at? 70 grand right now? 100,000 for a node right now?
Yeah, it's pretty high.
Something crazy. Yeah.
And keep in mind, the team said, that the nodes of the founding nodes, 50,000 of them, would become NFTs that would be sellable on the market. So how does a network stay secure if it's going to be that Gala chain they're wanting to accomplish? But the nodes are selling out fast. So now, yeah, it's slowed down because now they're going to have to put up or shut up with that. Now you can sell your nodes, and if they're going to be going for 6 figures, I'm pretty sure people who have more than one, they would, no one's ever going to sell out of one because they see, or it still might be profitable or lucrative or whatever you want to call it. But if you have 5, there's some people who have 100, there's some people who have 50. That's going to tank and not help the project of Gala Game to accomplish that goal of having a secured
Right.
chain to build these games off of.
Hey, so shout out to Bodhi Tree again if you're still listening. But Crow says, I believe East Wing is like 60 town per day. Nice. I think it's something like that. Like you can get some nice money in Town Star if you use that NFT you got.
So one of the last things to mention then is just really highlighting the difference between some of the character models. I only really got I only really got like the halfling one. So this is from the first playtest. This is from the second one, and it does look a lot better. It looked quite fun last time. I think I prefer the old one really. If I had the choice to play that, I would. Yeah, they have been making progress. I guess gonna wait to see what they do with the next one now.
Yeah, I was kind of happy with the way the orcs are turning out, the way they looked. I kind of was already leaning towards playing an orc, so it kind of works out for me.
Yeah, and that's pretty much Miranda's this week. I know we do have like some small things to talk about, like in other games. I do have one thing to show with Alluvium this week. It's just this video that I found pretty cool. All the graphics aren't loaded because it's mainly about the movement. But yeah, let's check it out.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, so it reminds me of the trailer when they were just like showing things off like this, but in a more cinematic fashion. So they're starting to get this like just movement really down,
Yeah.
and if that's what they're willing to show, like what do they actually have right now? Any thoughts, guys?
Yeah, it looks promising. It's very rudimentary. There's more emphasis on the character than anything in the surroundings. But as far as like graphics and functionality, I look forward to it. The land sale is coming up as well. I'm interested, but then I feel like I'm spreading myself out too thin because there's a lot of games that I would actually like to play. But I guess once they come out and you try them out, then you could always just sell the assets if you bought them. It's
So
not
that's
like you got to hold.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm done.
That's an interesting point you just made, Ray. So I hit a wall this past week where, so first of all, I was adjusting my ship purchases in Star Atlas and writing them down in my little notepad with my NFTs, trying to track everything. And I realized that I hadn't looked at my Zed Run horses in months or even thought about them. Looked into that, found out that I was in a good position there, and I'm going to be making some moves on that next week. But that's when I hit the wall and I decided that I can't be in more than like 12 projects. Like I got to have a number where I stop because I have too much stuff going on. I can't keep up with everything. So have you guys experienced anything like that? Are you guys cutting yourselves off on like 1 game, 2 games where I'm at with 12? Like what do you guys think along those lines?
Yeah, that is a lot. I mean, for me, it's kind of like even beyond 5 projects is really hard to keep up with. So I think that I try and have a handful of main ones that get my attention. And then as a result of really, also doing this show and paying attention to the metaverse as a whole, I'll dabble in some others just to kind of stay sharp and really understand what's out there and how different games and economies and things are developing. But yeah, it's tough to really do any of them right if you're trying to do all of them.
Yeah, you can only play like one or two, really. So
Yeah.
if the others aren't earning in some other kind of capacity where you don't have to play them, then you can't be involved, right? Where you at on that, Fancy?
Yeah, I do. I think one of the major things for me is if it's like in a local chain. I know if I have to like go out and learn a new blockchain before I can go play or even
Yeah,
attempt to learn about this game, then that puts me off really.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I could attest to that as I dove into these other networks. Like I recently jumped into DeFi Kingdoms on the Harmony network. Like I said earlier, there's going to be an expansion to AVAX. So now it's like forcing people to adapt and learn, and just dabble into these other networks, layer ones, that are going to be also hosting or creating their own games that will more or less be successful. It just if you're interested in majority of your assets or investments in NFT gaming are on Ethereum, then that's where you're going to stay because you want to play and you might be earning money there already. But personally, the most of my time is being taken up with DeFi Kingdoms just because of how lucrative it is and how it's just built. And I don't mind going deeper into it next week, if we're going to be here for the holidays, and we can give an update via our Discord. So check that out in the announcements if you're going to want to know, because we have to check our schedules and get back to that. But yeah, there's a lot going on other chains, as these networks are not just going to become rug pulls themselves. For the most part, the top 10 seem to be pretty secure, and a lot is happening on them. But Axie Infinity would be the second in line. But that's the thing, depending on if the game is playable and what you can do as far as earning. Like Star Atlas is more of a hands-off approach, unless you have just smaller ships, like we covered in our Star Atlas segment. And then you would have to be more active as far as resupplying everything on that ship. But when it comes to DeFi Kingdoms, there's just a multifaceted approach of how you can earn, because it's built on a DEX. So the equivalent of liquidity providing would be, the gardens, and then just for a brief synopsis, and then we have the bank, which would be the equivalent of staking, and that it is not necessarily a game when you stake your ships. It's not necessarily, if you want to get technical, it's not necessarily a game, but the game is being developed as you're making money in that on that DEX playing that quote unquote game. But in DeFi Kingdom's case, you can play a game which is quests, where you click just as you would just stake your ships for Star Atlas, and there's some items that you could receive, and then you could trade those items on the market for the native token Jewel, which just blew the hell up. The total locked value in the game is like over $5 million. So it's a promising game, and it's compared to Axie Infinity a lot. So even though it's been months already, since September, I think, or even October, that the game came out, the white papers is the most sound next to an Axie Infinity or a Star Atlas, in my opinion. And just because it's on a different network, like Fancy was mentioning, it just takes some time out of our daily routine of what projects we're already involved in to learn and then take advantage of those opportunities if there's money to spare, to even transfer or convert or swap. So there's a lot to take in, and for as far as the amount of projects that I'm involved in, NFT gaming related, 12 is a good number, or it could be more than that.
It can't be for me.
Yeah, when we talk about playing, like what am I actually playing? It's going to be or playing. It would be Star Atlas, Axie Infinity, and DeFi Kingdoms. That's my.
I managed to get the fam into Thetan Arena, and not financial advice. I don't know. I've been hearing a lot of things about it being a scam lately, and they've been, they're a brand new launch, so they're going through their growing pains. But the game is fun. Game is super fun. So me and the family all get together, group calls, and we play Thetan Arena together, and we're having a blast doing that. But
Nice.
I don't know anything about actually earning. I kind of suck at the game. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to earn. My brother and my godson are killing it. They're going to start making some money here soon.
Yeah, and that's what's great about the space and how it's developing, where it's just like you're gonna end up playing whatever you're gonna want to play as far as your interest, and hopefully, right, that's what the whole space is gonna become, where you could just make a good amount of pocket change to either pay bills or to just reinvest and compound to have a nice nest egg to then maybe jump into other projects, because everyone has to start somewhere, like we all have, and it's just a great journey to be on this early in the game, which you still are if you're listening.
Good morning. Yeah, we're all so
Yeah.
early. Shout out to Timothy B. What do you guys think about Big Time? I've seen several, influencers, social media guys, Elio Trades, etc., talking about this game. So these guys have the golden touch. It's probably good, but like we're talking about right now, bandwidth wise, I haven't even been able to go to their website, bro. Like I don't know. Anybody else?
Yeah, neither have I. I know it's a successful community and drop, and it's doing their thing. I just can't, I don't have the bandwidth right now, and there's a lot of sales that are coming up too. This month is just like a lot of drops, a lot of new projects that I'm interested in. Shout out SolarBots. That's another one that's being created with a bunch of OGs that were very early on in the crypto space, and I remember mentioning it before on a slide like 3 weeks ago, but that mint is coming out on the 22nd. And that information is shared in our Discord, in our projects channel. So join the Discord. What are you waiting for?
Yeah, Timmy, I would suggest you join our Discord, especially for this question right here. How about Vulcan Forged? I looked into it back in the day, but I was too early. I was going in at a point where it was very buggy trying to get your assets across the different chains. And so I moved, a couple of bucks over there, and then it was so difficult that I just moved it back. And once I fought to get the little couple of bucks back, I just didn't want to deal with it anymore. However, if you join our Discord, we have at least one guy. I believe Rob Mega is deep in there and doing well. And I think we have some more guys that are involved in Vulcan Forged. And you have like Elio Trades, etc. Once again, they're all hyping it. So it's probably a good project. That's actually one that might end up being one of my 12. It's on my list of things I need to go back and review here in the near future.
For sure.
Yeah, Rob Mega says, winning big with Vulcan Forged. And Rob Mega is one of the guys I respect the most from our Discord. He tells me about a project, I take it serious. And he told me about Vulcan Forged. So
yeah, Vulcan Forge, I guess Kagijan actually put me onto that a long time ago. And for what it's worth, man, he's just been at it grinding, no matter the politics and the that he gets involved in outside of NFT gaming on his Twitter, as he's a character. But but as an individual, as I met him, honest guy, man. Honest. Yeah, he's an honest.
Being a firebrand on social
Right.
media can get you a large following, whether it's positive or negative. You still get the following, right? So
good guy. Yep.
It could be a part of marketing.
Yeah, and that goes for us too. Like we could be characters. We could stir the pot. We could say something that's controversial, and then we could get guild members sharing it and tagging people on Twitter just to rile the crowd. We could be a force for good, or a force for marketing. It goes both ways.
Yep. I see Monty here. We got something going on. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Anyone have any specific questions in the comments before we move on to this special Christmas holiday X5 raffle for Star Atlas? Any comments, concerns?
Yeah, and we're joined by Monty now.
Monty, welcome. And if you're interested too, in the comments of coming on the show, if you're in the guild, you have to join the guild and be a part of the guild. But if you're interested, you could always reach out to one of the council members. We could fit you in a schedule, depending on the game you're playing, and if you want to maybe talk about it, we'll consider that. But,
Thank you.
Yeah, Monty.
Loud and clear.
Awesome.
I was having double feedback there. I had it on the other screen before I joined this one, so
okay, great.
Apologies. Thanks for having us on again, guys. Do you mind if I just try and share my screen for tonight's X5 draw?
Yeah,
sure.
Go ahead, squad leader.
Hey, Monty, you want to introduce yourself and what your role you play, just for those who are watching and who might not know about you, and your role, and then what made you start doing Christmas giveaway?
Excellent. Yeah, Monty Burns. Go by the name Monticus Georgius. Been in Rome from pretty early on. After met these 6 legends. I getting into Star Atlas after I think it was Banjo and Ray were chatting to us about it, so I particularly enjoyed the project completely. I wanted to do something to try and help out the guild. We build up a little bit of funds before the new mini game and that launched, just to try and stir up a bit of excitement. At the same time as some of the guys who had an opportunity of getting a ship, maybe it might have been out of their reach, or just they're buying tickets for other people, so they're giving back. So what we do is I'm a squad leader with Rome. I run the Reaper squad within the division. There's plenty of other squads within Rome. Check out the website. Come and join us. So what I do is we run a raffle. I've got a big one coming up on Christmas Eve. I'm going to draw that live on our Discord. This is in the Coliseum. I'm going to launch it, and the prize for that one is a Rainbow Chi. The ticket prices are 10 USD. Once we've got enough to cover the ship, which I've
That's
already
a hell of a deal
purchased.
for Rainbow Chi.
Oh yeah, definitely. I got it on launch, so we're going to launch prices. I think they've went up now. I'm not sure. I think it's about 1,100, 1,200 for it, because people are earning now. Look at that. I polished that myself.
Beautiful.
The spit shine, the good old.
That wax on, wax off.
Right.
Mr. Miyagi. So what I've done is I've got an X5 for this evening, and I'll run that one round about 7 o'clock on Christmas Eve. The missus will kill me if I try and stay out any later in the garage. So without any further ado, if you mind if I share my screen on the wheel of names?
Yeah, set that up and I'll...
So this one's for the X5, correct? Today.
Yeah, the X5,
We're doing it today. Yep.
And if anyone's wanting to partake in future raffles, is there's a specific wallet address, right, that people can? Yeah,
this is the public raffle wallet. It's in our Discord. I'll just see what screen it is that I'm actually sharing here.
Yeah, and then the way these raffles are actually, the way we choose a winner is that there's as you'll see now, there's a wheel, and that we have all the names on. And the way it works is if you bought more than one raffle ticket, then you have more than one chance. So your name is going to be,
appear on, as you can see on the side here. We've got some people for the X5. I try and limit it to 1 or 2 tickets to give everybody a chance to take part. However, as the week goes on or the 2 weeks go on, if I'm struggling to sell tickets, I'll put a message out and people can buy multiple tickets. So without any further ado, good luck, Romans.
Do it. Drum roll.
Drum roll. Oh, we're spinning. Oh, Witicus!
What the? What
awesome.
Congratulations.
Yeah, he stepped out, so he's not here right now.
Yeah. Genie X5.
It's a scam.
Hey, as you can see, guys, my name is in there. Right, just to fill up the blanks.
Right.
Or giving back to the community, it's fine.
Right. I'm sure if Witicus was here, he might have said the same thing, but I don't want to speak for him. But yeah, if our names, I can speak for myself. If my name is in there, which it wasn't this time around, we'll be next. If I ever win, it'll go raffle back into the.
Almost certain Witicus will do.
Yeah,
we can't speak for we can't speak for Witicus. He stepped away for a minute, but yeah, we if the console's names popped up, I don't think it was necessarily going to be a thing like that. So
right.
You guys are okay. Go ahead, Mike.
Guys, still a few tickets left for. Just going to give a little plug out to we're going to pull up the Christmas raffle won. My
Yeah.
screen.
Here we go.
Nicely
Beautiful.
done.
Yeah, it's well done, man.
Yo, what's up with the other squads? Where are those leaders at, huh? We need some squad leader competition, man.
It's only the.
Omega?
I've only managed to do it because I've been working from home for quite a wee bit here. Usually, most people will be a lot harder. Just trying to open it on a better view.
No worries.
That one.
I think people can read that. I think.
Yeah, you can read that. It's fine.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah,
wallet
zoom
address in the red. However, there's a nice text version in most of the Discord chats. So guys, get involved. And there's nothing I'd like more than to hand out a nice shiny rainbow chi to somebody.
Yep. For more
Yeah.
info and to participate, make sure you guys go ahead and join the Rome Discord, Rome.io to join us.
Yeah, like you don't even need to purchase the ticket for yourself. It's a Christmas gift, giveaway. So perfect chance to potentially be nice to someone else. So
We
thought
do.
that counts.
I can confirm there have been some anonymous tickets bought for other Roman members. So just good luck to everyone who's in there. I'm not going to share the list at the moment.
No.
Yeah, but Hadrian's Wall did do well. Crow. Yeah, kept the Romans out of Scotland. They're all mental up there. But thank you for having us on the show again tonight, guys. Thank you.
It was a pleasure having you, man.
Hey,
Always a
pleasure, man.
Yeah, nice having you, mate.
Yeah, I like that about our community, like he was mentioning, as far as anonymous people buying for other individuals in our guild and stuff like that. I mean, we've been about taking care of the little guy and doing scholarships and things of that nature since the beginning, and that's one of the best things about being a Roman.
Yeah, and there's gonna be that spectrum of people who don't have enough as much as they would want, and then vice versa. So all we can do is to help grow Rome and for it to be a force to be reckoned with, and our own right is to just help one another out within. So we do all what we can, and Monty is a great example of
Yes,
community members
absolutely.
stepping up and just building that camaraderie between him and his own squad. But then it spills over outside of the particular squads we have that are going to be doing particular jobs depending on what those members in that squad want to do in the game itself. So definitely check us out. Like Bonafide said, you can find our descriptions to join Rome. Or visit gorome.io, and it'll take you to the Discord. But we hardly do this either. But press that like button.
We don't do that enough.
The algorithms are important.
Yeah, like and subscribe, you guys, and
sure.
Right quick before we close out, everybody remember that it's Christmas time coming up. The holiday season's going on. Dig into your Discord channels. Dig into the projects you're invested in. There's a lot of giveaways and drops and things going on. And if you're part of these communities and you're not engaged right now over the holiday season, you might want to be more engaged. I know several of the projects I'm into are doing daily giveaways, or they're about to start doing giveaways, etc. Just like we are in Rome. So yeah, definitely dig into all your projects, get engaged in your communities while you have this time off, if you have it, if you're lucky enough.
Yeah, nicely put. I think that's how we're going to end it.
Happy holidays.
Close us out.
Who wants to take us out?
Well, I just would like to share. It is the holidays, like Bonafide said, whether you celebrate it or not. This is a good time to collect, rest up, as the devs for our main project, Star Atlas, is doing, and just reorganize and enjoy your time with family. And if you don't have any family, come to Rome. We're your family. All
yes, right? Rome will be your family if you need a family. That's how I've been talking about it since day one. We're family in our community.
But yeah, guys, enjoy the holidays, and we'll catch you soon on the other side.